Vanessa, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with myself and Colleen. We're very happy to be able to sit down with you and talk about your experience and any advice, and just learn more about designers as a whole. As we know that Colleen has a successful design agency, and I do some freelance work for her in terms of project management and writing some bi-monthly blogs for her. And what we decided to do to kind of mix it up is to do a vlog, do a video vlog, get an industry expert and talk to them about their experience, and just have a fun conversation about design and marketing and just all of our collective experiences. So I hope that, I know it's late in the day, so I hope that we're all caffeinated up and ready to get going.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. So first off, would you be able to just tell us a little bit about your professional background and education?
Sure. Yeah, so basically I actually started off as a psychology major, and I started off as a psychology major because the plan was that I was going to go to law school. And like kind of just before I went to law school, I had a friend who pulled me like to the side and was just kind of like, you might want to rethink this because you're a very creative person and you're going to want to kill yourself like if you get into that field. Because he was like, it is so boring and you're going to be like literally reading and reading and reading all day, and you're, he was like, the money's great, but he was like, look, he was like, the one thing I ask of you is to just check out the website of my school. And at the time he was going to SCAD Atlanta, and he was like, just check out the website, and like if you haven't fallen in love with it, I'll leave you alone, but if you do, like think about it and see if you could apply or whatever. And that's actually like exactly what I did. I looked at the website and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Why would you do this to me? Like, I'm literally about to try to get into law school. And that's exactly what happened. I applied, and like, I applied to the master's program. And I got in because at that time I had already had the psychology bachelor's. So I applied to the master's program, and I got in, and I was kind of shocked because I had no background whatsoever, like no formal background in design, but I guess they really liked my portfolio. I got in and I kind of just took off from there. So now I have a master's in advertising design. So yeah.
What specifically about the school made you decide to completely switch directions?
Well, it was honestly just all of the creative like just the creativity in general that was just in one space, right? So like you look at the website and you're just like clicking, you're like, oh my gosh, I could be doing that instead. And then you kind of think of the alternative, like I'm just kind of like law and this, and I'm clicking and I'm looking at all this cool stuff, and I'm just like, there's no way that I want to go into law. Like, I mean, yeah, it would have been great for the money, but I totally get it. And I spoke with one of, a really good friend of mine too, and her two of her sisters are lawyers, and she was like, don't do it. She was like, and I mean, at that point I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead to, the creative field. And yeah, and I mean, the more I dove into the website and just like researched more things, I just realized that that's something that I wanted to do. So
what creative things were you doing before? I know that you mentioned that a portfolio for applying for the master's program, but what before then were you doing in the creative realm?
I was not really doing very much of anything. I was just kind of like, it was more of a hobby. And so I was just like, I would just paint on the side. I would write poetry. I would, do just like random like designs for friends and stuff, but nothing where I was actually being paid for it. I was just doing, it was a hobby. And so it was something that a lot of my friends knew that I liked. And I mean, my parents knew that I liked it as well, but it was just kind of like in the Caribbean. I'm from South America, and there and in the Caribbean, like, which is what we're culturally close to, you just do not go into the arts. Like you don't become an artist. You have to become a doctor or a lawyer. And so that was, I mean, you know, I kind of was trying to like go down that route, but I just I just couldn't you know, eventually, because I was already a creative person at heart. So yeah.
Was that a hard conversation for your parents, or were
It
they?
was definitely a tough conversation for my parents, because especially because like I fought against it for so long, and then I finally kind of like made up my mind that I'm just gonna go ahead and go to law school. So my dad was extremely happy. I mean, he's a doctor, and he, you know, he'd wanted me to become a doctor, and I realized early on that that was not going to work out for me, because I had gone and shadowed him and almost fainted in surgery. Like, it was really bad. Like, I literally stumbled out of a surgery. They were doing like a bone marrow transplant, and I almost stumbled out. And of course, like while I'm stumbling out, here he comes like walking past. So he sees me and he's just kind of like, what the heck's going on? Why aren't you in there?
Like, get it together.
Yeah, and he's like so embarrassed, because it's like, you know, his daughter like stumbles out of surgery and he's well known at the hospital. And I was just kind of like, I had to have a conversation. I was like, this is just not going to work out for me. Like, I can't do it. And so then it was just kind of like, okay, the next thing is law. So you can do law. And so I finally kind of come to terms with that. So it was a really tough conversation coming back and being like, so, you know how I talked to you about law? That's not happening either. So yeah. And then it was just kind of like, okay, so what on earth are you going to do? And then it was like, you know, you're going into the arts, like what's wrong with you? Like you're going to be broke, and you're going to be like, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, it was definitely a tough conversation, but we had it, and I convinced them to pay for it too. So I know.
You should have gone into sales.
I know. Well, I mean, I did this whole like thing because I realized when I looked at the website for SCAD and everything, and I went through stuff, I realized that a career that would, you know, that would merge really good with my bachelor's degree was advertising. And so I was like, well, why don't I go into advertising design? And that's actually why I didn't do the graphics design degree. I did the advertising design one, because I thought that it would just make sense, and it wouldn't be, my parents wouldn't feel like it was a waste of time sending me to do this whole bachelor's that now I'm just kind of like, I didn't even need that. And your money, you know, your money is no good at all. So yeah, so it kind of worked out with the advertising program. And that's also one of the things that I loved about SCAD, that I just like found that. I was like, this is amazing. So now I could tell them that we can merge it, and, you know, so yeah.
It's okay, mom and dad, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I sold it as like, I'm not going to be an artist, I'm going to be an advertising design. So it's like, you know, still, I was just kind of like, I'm still going to make money. Like, don't worry about it. And, you know, I got it from there. So yeah, so it worked out that way.
Nice. Now that you're in more specifically advertising design, what are some of the biggest challenges or hurdles that a designer in that industry runs into?
I would say the biggest hurdle ever is well, it's like two types of clients. It's either the client that doesn't know what they want, or the client that knows what they want when they see it. I think those are usually like the actual hurdles. Those ones they kind of can become disaster clients, and, you know, at some point you might have to get rid of them. And so those are the main hurdles that I've ever really faced. Of course, there are always like the great clients, that the ones that are in the middle that kind of, you know, balance it out. But you from time to time, you get those clients that just kind of drive you crazy. So yeah, I would say those clients contribute to the biggest hurdles, because you just have issues like on and on and on with them. And so projects, you know, take forever, or they kind of just don't kick it off, because it's kind of like you know, you can create like these awesome things, but they know it when they see it. So they like, it's you're spending time and your work is awesome, but they just haven't seen it yet, but they don't want to give you any guidance, because they don't know. They don't even know. They just know it when they see it. So yeah, I would say clients like that. And I'm sure Colleen would probably.
I heard you say, and I was like, I never said client.
Yeah.
And I knew what kind of clients you're going to say. The ones that I thought either you're going to say education, the ones you have to do a lot of educating sometimes with clients, because we speak a lot of lingo and language and terminology that they don't quite understand. Or just there are things about what we do that just aren't really understood. Or aspects of things, like, say, for example, like doing a logo. Working with a client on a logo project, and they want to use a photograph for their
right.
That can be difficult to explain why you can't use a photograph for your logo. And so that can be a bit of a challenge, just trying to explain why we cannot use this photograph, and then trying to then turn it into, I can't give you this, but here is what I can do. So that, to kind of bridge that, you don't want to make them feel terrible about, this grand idea for this photo. The minute I heard, I knew you were going to say clients.
And then, and that also leads on to, I guess, another type of client, and it would be the client that that has opened Photoshop once or twice, and they actually think that they are somewhat a designer. But they can't really do the work. So they're actually hiring you, but at the same time, they want to micromanage because they think that they can. And I don't know if they just tell themselves that they think that they can, but they just don't have time to do it. But they try to tell you how to do it.
I know, and as a project manager, I feel, there's that balancing act. It's, to get the client, what they want, and optimize the design and their specifications, but protect you guys as well. And making sure that you're able to do your work to the best of your ability by also saying, we're going to have to rethink that a little bit, or move the timeline, or you're going to have to pay more for that.
And then that becomes a larger discussion, right? Because now you have, like, some clients you're going to have to really try to explain because they really don't understand why that's a problem. So you're going to have to dig deep and try to get them to understand what you're even what your point of view is, that, we need to reevaluate. So, yeah. So I appreciate you for that, for calling.
Kind of moving along with the client theme here, how do you handle that negative client feedback, or the client that the client that just doesn't know what they want, that unintentionally gives negative feedback, but it's because they don't know what they want? But in general, how do you handle the negative feedback?
I'm going to add to that. Also giving you feedback that is not necessarily helpful, that doesn't really actually tell you anything. Like feedback saying, make it pop. What does that mean? Make it pop.
What part of it make it pop?
I had a client that literally, they would say, make it pop. And when they said make it pop, it would turn red. And that was literally what, if I turned
that's the only red, thing that it means, make it red.
Yeah, that was, I had to translate that. But again, typically when someone says make it pop, it doesn't mean red. There's something that it means to them, but you don't know what that is.
That's really
so I will add to what Megan said, the negative feedback plus unhelpful feedback as well.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I think I guess honestly, I would say when you get to that point where it's not constructive criticism, or you get to negative feedback and it's too much and it becomes overwhelming and the job just becomes, it's going to become a disaster. I honestly, at that point, just say, you know what, I can't, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to part ways at this point, because that's for my sanity and probably for the clients as well. Because if it gets to the point where I realize that I'm honestly wasting my time and I'm not getting anywhere with that client is not actually giving me the information that I need to be productive or effective in whatever I'm doing, I feel like we're just going to go around and around in circles. And at that point, I also kind of realize that client probably doesn't know what they want, and maybe they need to rethink it and then come back, because we'll just end up in a loop. So so yeah, I think at that point I usually just ask that client to just move on.
Yeah, I mean, for the partnership, if the partnership isn't working, is figuring out what can be done to resolve it and move forward, and what's
Right.
best for each party.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I mean, there are ways to to critique work, and you can do it in a positive manner. And if you're going to be doing it in a negative way, and it's, you know, if it gets insulting and it starts going down that route, it's just not okay. So
Boundaries is, yeah.
right, yeah, that's definitely it. You have to create boundaries. So and like I said, for your own personal sanity as well. So, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a bad mood. No one wants
Right.
to be in a bad mood.
Or like stressed out, all your hair's falling out. Can't do that.
Oh God, I hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, I know, right?
No.
Yeah, that's why you have to cut it off from early.
Yeah.
Get there.
Oh man. Going away present is a haircut. No. What aspects about design keep you in the industry?
Just because I guess really I'm just a creative person at heart, and just kind of I always remember in school that I was one of those students that had my head in the clouds all the time. So I'd always kind of like drift off and like daydream and everything. And I mean, I've kind of toned that down since I've gotten older, but I've always been like a dreamer. And I think design is just one of those careers that lets you kind of run wild. You know, you can just like create something out of nothing. Like you just create things out of thin air, and it's all based on imagination. Of course, you know, a lot of times it has to be functional, but it's a lot based on imagination. And I think that's one of the great things about design, and what I love about it, because I especially love when I have those clients that kind of tell you to just like run wild, because, you know, you just
like, okay.
Yeah, because you literally get to run wild in your mind, and you're just like, what amazing things can I think of here?
Kid in a candy store then.
Right, exactly. So so that's really what I love. I just love you know, just the freedom to kind of imagine and make those things come to life. And you know, there are not a lot of careers where you can actually do that. So I do really like that.
Oh, nice. How do you like to structure your portfolios? I was able to get a glimpse of it, but just wanted to hear your thought process on the structure, or structures of what you think could enhance portfolios for designers or upcoming designers.
Yeah. Excuse me. That's actually a really interesting question, because to be totally honest, I did not design my portfolio with a structure. I'm not a very structured person. And so I kind of, well, yeah, so I kind of just like go with what I feel at the moment. Like in my portfolio, I kind of just went with what I thought would represent me the best. And, you know, in that moment, what I wanted other people to see from my work, just kind of like putting the things that I liked the most forward, and just finding a way to just, I guess, just making them all work well together, but making it like present the way that I would want it to present. So I don't really think there needs to be an actual structure. I think realistically it just needs to be a reflection of the designer themselves, like whatever that reflection is. Because I don't think that, you know, I think one of the things about designers is that we don't think in a box, and we never want to be put in a box where we don't like fit a mold. And I don't think that it ever needs to be structured. I really don't. So, but I mean, but for those designers that like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying, like, as designers, we're probably slightly unstructured people to
right. Because you have to be, and I think that's one of the reasons why people appreciate designers, because it's kind of like you give them something that they've never seen before, or they never even like thought, you know, could be. So it's just kind of like, you know, you give a client something and they're just kind of like, wow, I didn't even think that could be done that way because it's always been done this way. And it's like, I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be, but that's just generally like how most people would do it. And designers kind of take you, like pull you from that. So I don't think that there needs to be structure, but I mean, every designer is different. So for the designer that wants to be structured, I think, you know, a good setup, like I like Behance just for just for visibility, and I like just kind of like how their setup is in terms of someone who wanted to be structured, if they wanted some type of structure and they wanted something that would be quick and that would just like show their work, I think like somewhere like Behance would be really good. But in my personal opinion, I don't really care for structure. I hope that answers your question.
No.
I was actually going to ask you about Behance and what your thoughts on Behance were, and what you thought of it. Do you have your portfolio? I know your portfolio is on your website, but do you also have your portfolio on Behance as well?
Actually, I haven't updated Behance. I did have stuff on there at some point, but it was more of a I wanted to apply for a job and I just wanted to get my work up really quickly, and I knew that I may not get my website up in time. That's what I, you know, think of like for Behance. That's what I would more use it for. And then once my website is up, I would focus on showing my website and not necessarily Behance, but maybe just keeping Behance there so that if I like, you know, if they want to research and they want to see, they can see that I am on Behance and, you know, stuff like that. But I mean, it is cool to look through Behance and look at portfolios and look at, you know, stuff like that. So I don't think of Behance as a bad thing. I think it's a really nice tool. But for me, I like being able to have a website and have it be more of a reflection of myself. So
is Behance kind of like a LinkedIn for designers in a way? Or
it's kind of like I don't know. Trying to think of what can I compare it to.
Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't really be LinkedIn. Yeah. It would probably be a little more similar if you're trying to understand it, probably a little bit more similar to Pinterest in terms of like how, in terms of how you showcase items, because it's a very visual setup. So you're showcasing items and like projects and stuff like that. So I wouldn't really say LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is more text heavy. So there's not really very much, you know, visually. So yeah, I would say a little bit more Pinterest, but not really like it's its own tool. Yeah,
it's definitely its own thing. It is definitely geared towards visual artists,
right?
I'm trying to think, when Behance first came out, it's been out for years. It's owned by Adobe now, right?
Actually, I think it might be.
I think Adobe owns it now. So the school that I was teaching at, the students, their portfolios, they were putting all of their projects on Behance.
Nice.
Like you, I like early days, I have a Behance account. I just now kind of realized, so same like you, it's not updated. But it is a great place. Like if you don't have a website, like what you're saying, Vanessa, what you did in terms of you didn't have your website up yet, but you needed a portfolio to showcase. Behance is a good thing. And part of that is just because it's online in general, it just makes it easier for you to be able to quickly send a link to your portfolio, because a lot of jobs, for designers, we have to show our portfolio. A link to it in your resume, as well as if you're signing up with like creative temp agencies, they'll want to have a link to your portfolio as well. And so you have to have somewhere to be able to send them. So having something like Behance, if you don't already have your own website put together, then you can at least do Behance, and it's free. And if you
that's what
if you're a student and you've got the Creative Cloud, then you have Behance automatically. So and I want to say that you may be able to share projects from the actual software programs to Behance.
Oh, awesome. That would be pretty cool. I mean, if it is owned by Adobe, that probably is.
I think that it is. I don't know why, for some reason, I'm thinking it is, but I think that it is. And I'm only thinking that because of working at the school. I know that the students, we were using Behance for their portfolios. So I'm thinking that it is owned by Adobe. And so they had access to it that way.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is set up that way. I mean, I haven't used it in a long time in terms of like my own portfolio and stuff like that, like you updating stuff. Just kind of to look, and then like sometimes if I'm looking at, you know, certain types of art, or actually I think most recently it's been for fonts and stuff like that. So
recently I've looked at Behance for fonts.
Yeah. So that's really what I've used it for mainly. So I haven't really kind of dug deeper, but I mean, it's possible that since it is owned by Adobe now, that they kind of have merged that, so you can do that. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. So that would be cool if you can just publish straight to Behance.
Yeah, exactly. So
if not, there's a recommendation, point of feedback for Adobe.
I know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Feature request.
Speaking of Adobe and other technology, what software programs do you like to use the most, or have to use the most for your line of work?
I know, right? At the same thought.
Adobe.
I know, I loved it. So I guess my top three, and in order, would be Illustrator. I think in the past I used to be in love with Photoshop, but I'm in love with Illustrator. And so it'll be Illustrator, and then Photoshop, and then InDesign. And that's really because I'm more interested in the digital aspect, and InDesign is a little bit more for print. So I kind of leave that one a little bit behind unless I have to do print work. But definitely Illustrator, Photoshop, and then InDesign. And then I play around with other things too. Like I do like Sketch. I also do like, I kind of play around with all of the programs really. Like I'll randomly want to make a little movie clip or something like that. I'm not that great at it, but I do like to play around. So from time to time, I'll, open up Premiere Pro and stuff like that. But yeah.
You mentioned that you do more digital work as opposed to print work. So do you do more like UX, UI type stuff, or is it just more digital design? So do you use XD a lot?
Actually, I don't, but I do actually want to dive more into that. And so in terms of the future, that would be where I would want to take everything. So
okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel you're kind of niched in the digital design space, or have you kind of niched yourself in that space? Or
I have not, but I want to be. Like yeah, that's really what I want to be. And I don't want to say that print is dead, but it is, but it's not.
I have a special place in my heart for print. I do.
Yeah, I know. Not just people want to say print is dead. I actually don't think print will ever be dead, because people have been saying print was dead for like the past 15 years.
I know, and that's very true. And I know it's not. I really promise that I know it's not. I just don't really like it that much. I just don't.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. I think that what happened was print didn't die. It's just that technology moved forward,
right,
in a spectacular way, and created more opportunities in the digital realm for us designers. So it made things, advertising and marketing and things, kind of morph into another space and kind of grow. And so I think the digital space is probably larger than the print space from a creative standpoint. Print's not going to die, because there's probably always going to be some print of some stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But it's probably going to be a lot more boring print stuff as opposed to exciting creative print opportunities. There will probably be more mundane print opportunities, but I don't think it is ever going to actually just completely die.
I know, that's so sad. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I really do know that
she's trying to kill print.
I'm just kidding. I really know that there's a need for it. I mean, I would just definitely like to gravitate more and more away from it. And just, I mean, right now I'm more focused on being a digital designer, and so So that's why I say, I guess, like I like Illustrator, then Photoshop, and then InDesign. So, because I know that I have to do print from time to time, but yeah.
Could you tell us maybe more like about the types of projects that you work on, like more from a more detailed perspective? Like when you say digital designs, like what is that? What does that look like? Are they, you know, web banners or like what types of digital designs do you do?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, everything for websites basically. So yeah, like web banners, ads, stuff like ad design, stuff like that. And then also one of the things that I really liked that I've kind of I have dived into is app design. And I really want to get a little bit more into that. And I want to get more into the back end as well. So to kind of just basically do a little bit of everything. I really want to be able to design and code my own app one day. So because that's something that I just think is really cool. But yeah, in terms of digital, would be like everything for web, you know, mobile ads and banners and stuff like that too. So
okay,
yeah.
Do you find that because obviously print is very finite in what you can do and the flexibility. You have your die lines, you have your resolutions, you have, you know, what can be done. Do you find that it's a hindrance or it actually really helps? I know.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or especially since digital does have that so much flexibility and that you can change things on the dime. Do you feel that could be kind of a hindrance, especially from a client's request of continuous changes? Or do you just enjoy it so much that because it does have so many capabilities that you're like, just bring it on, like bring it all to me?
I think probably the latter, because and then it's also because I feel like clients are always going to have changes, and when you're dealing with print, it's just more irritating changes because you just have to do all these additional steps, and then you have to kind of make sure that all those things kind of fit within that, you know, those guidelines. Whereas of course with digital, it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like whatever goes, but at the same time, it's like the changes are quicker, and then you do have more flexibility. So like for even social, you know, I do social posts as well, and for social and stuff like that, I mean, those things are, you know, they just need to be quick and eye-catching and stuff like that. And so it's just, I mean, I think that the rigidity definitely still doesn't work for me. I still find it a hindrance. So yeah.
Where do you find the inspiration for your projects?
Well, you know, like I said before, I'm a dreamer, so I'm kind of like always in the clouds. So a lot of it is from just kind of daydreaming and being in the clouds, but also just like simple everyday things, you know, talking to people, talking to family. And then a weird thing that I do like to do is I like to just go to stores and just look at labels and like not buy anything, but just look at stuff. And so yeah, kind of a little bit of everything. You kind of, you know, take a little bit of everything in life. And then if I get stuck on a project, I just like, I nag people. So I might nag Colleen and, and kind of like, I'm just kind of like, I need to pick your brain right now. So I'll probably do that. And then also I might go, I like to do random Google searches as well. So I'll just, you know, get on there and look at maybe like Dribble or even Behance sometimes, and just do like a search for things that are related, or, you know, sometimes even unrelated things kind of work well with whatever you're trying to get inspired for. And so I would say it's a little bit of everything. It's not really not really one thing, to be totally honest. I'm kind of all over the place with everything, I think. So that's just generally how I live my life, just staying all over the place.
Are there any specific artists, whether designers or just, artists that, excuse me, painters, because I know you mentioned that you painted, any artists that you have felt that have influenced your style of design?
I know this is probably going to be a weird answer because I feel like everybody has someone, but I really don't. And I think that's because I've always been the person that does everything opposite from the crowd. And so I never want my work to look similar to anyone else's. I mean, obviously there's only so much that you can do to make it like, extremely original, because we're all using the same tools and everything like that. But at the same time, I also, I think, like, I always focus more on originality. And so I don't really want to be, in a sense, influenced too much by, someone else. I don't want to become a copy of someone else. So while I do, I will look like, do Google searches and look for inspiration and, stuff like that. I'm not like pinpointing like a specific artist and focusing in on that one person and stuff like that. Like I just, I personally don't have anyone that I do that with. So.
And is that how you feel like you kind of stave that burnout by with that mentality, to not be like anybody else? But is there anything else that you do to kind of avoid getting totally burned out?
Yeah, I guess that probably does help, and just kind of keeping it, just kind of trying to keep it fresh, but also I guess I would say that burnout would more come from those clients that I would have gotten rid of.
Okay.
Realistically, I think that's what, or print work.
I was just about to ask something along those lines. I was going to ask if you ever experienced burnout from something specific, like a specific type of work or a specific type of project. So print burns you out. Okay.
Yeah, it would be print, and it would be print with like a hard deadline where something has to be like very specific and it's going to be printed. And yeah. And it just, and then they, a client comes back with changes. And so I have to kind of make those changes, but also make it fit those guidelines or requirements, and then make sure that it's completely print ready, whereas like nothing is off or anything like that. It's almost like there's no coming back from print. Once it's printed, it's printed. Like if it's like online and there's something that needs to be adjusted, that's quick. Like you can be like, hey, can you go ahead and fix this banner and fix this one thing that doesn't look that great, or since it's up now, it looks like different from it looks different from when it looked when when it was being designed or whatever. You can adjust that, but once it's printed, it's printed. So I think that's one of the things. Yeah, well, that's one of the things I don't like about. Yeah, that's what I don't like about print, because there's no flexibility whatsoever. You're kind of So I don't know. That's probably just me, but that's what I don't like.
Well, that it makes sense. Now it really does. I think maybe for me, because I'm an old designer. Old designer in the sense that when I started, there was no digital. So I was born on print. So it just feels, I don't have those same, I guess. I don't like production work.
I hate production work.
I don't like production work. But I don't hate print work. I do like print. I just don't like production work.
Okay.
So
yeah, I don't like production either. So
I understand why you're not into print though. With everything you're saying, that makes sense to me. And I think part of maybe why I'm as okay with print is because it was the bread and butter of what I started with.
Okay.
There wasn't digital design when I got started.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, do you generally like the structure of print though? Like I guess basically just everything involved with print, even the finality. Do you like?
It doesn't bother me because it is it's like it's just a part of what happens. Like it's automatic for me. All of those nuances that that you're talking about for the finality of print and, you know, margins and bleeds. And I'm assuming that's kind of all the stuff you're talking about when you're saying think about and make sure it's right, and, you know, die lines and all those.
And I think that die lines especially, like, even more, because you're thinking about, like, not just printing a flyer, or, you know, you're thinking about something that needs to be cut, and it needs to be cut accurately, and you need to make sure that everything is on point. Like, no, I'm sorry, it's just...
So for me, a lot of those things are really, they're like breathing for me, because I've been doing it for so long, doing print and having to do those things. It's like I don't have to think about it. So those things are, they're not really hindrances, I guess, for me, because it's just like I have to breathe to sit here in this chair. Not thinking about breathing, but I'm breathing.
Right.
And so those things for me, I don't think about them. I'm not thinking about the die line necessarily, or the live area, or those. I am and I'm not. I'm not just actively thinking about them or worrying about them, because they're kind of automatically already set, and I'm like, it's like,
I see what you mean.
But it makes sense to me, if for you, if especially you haven't necessarily been doing print over and over forever. You design, there was other things for you to do, so you got to experiment and play with other things, and you found something you liked, and then have to do this print stuff. It's like, so exactly. Like, I understand, I get it, I do.
What I love about print is that it has a tangible finished product that you can touch and feel and open, and so that's what I love about print. From my background, I've done some CPG packaging and in-store signage, and a lot of direct mail, and trying to figure out what is the best layout and format for a direct mail piece that, you know, gets people to, you know, convert to sales, or, you know, donors to give back to their favorite philanthropy. So that's what I love about print, but I also love the variety of web and digital too, because there is like these endless capabilities, and depending on, you know, how you want to code something in the back, it's just, you're like, oh wow.
Do you like the feeling of different types of paper?
I do.
Okay,
and the smell of papers.
Okay, so that's one thing that I've noticed with almost everyone that really likes print, that they love the feel of different types of paper, and that's I guess that's why you also like that it's a tangible item, because you like to be able to feel either, you know, just whatever it is, and the end product is, so it's a little bit more exciting for you, whereas I'm just kind of like, I just don't care.
It's an aspect of design that doesn't excite you. And
right, exactly. And it's not that it's bad. Like, I don't think of it as bad or anything, because even, you know, you're talking about in-store signage and, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, those things are cool too, because when you go in and you see something that that's really eye-catching, that, you know, that creates an experience for you. And I mean, I do like experiential design, and that's part of it as well. And so I guess that aspect of print is cool, but I don't like brochures, printed ads.
Yes, the fun. Yes, there's a fun print and mundane print.
Exactly. So that's a little bit different. I mean, so I guess I can see that more in terms of print, but yeah, the other stuff, I don't like that much.
No, completely understandable. What do you feel is the most misunderstood characteristic or underrated skill of a designer? I know that you mentioned that you don't like to be structured, and that allows you guys to think outside the box. But like, is that what you feel is the most misunderstood or underrated part of your job, or is there any other characteristics that people would go, oh wow, no, you're right, like designers, an unappreciated characteristic? How about that?
I guess that would definitely be a huge one, and then connected with the fact that, you know, we'll be able to make something out of nothing with, and still kind of pulling in that structure that the client wants. And they kind of still don't get that it was hard work, and they believe that it could be done in a flash. So it's kind of like pulling something out of nothing should take time. And you add another layer, which is adding all this structure. So you're making something out of nothing with these guidelines. And the clients usually are just kind of like, are you not done with that? And it's like, you're kind of asking me for something impossible to a degree here. And I'm trying to make it work and trying to make it pretty. And then, you know, yeah, it's kind of like creating that whole story, but not really, the client not really understanding the full scale of what it all entails, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you agree, Colleen, or like, do you have?
I agree with that. The aspect that to a certain degree we are magicians, or at least that's kind of, because exactly what you said with, you know, creating something from nothing, maybe with little direction, but also with guidelines or parameters in place that you have to adhere to. And clients not understanding that, like you said, that it took a lot of time and work, and effort and energy and brain power, to come up with this thing. And, you know, it may have seemed like we came up with it overnight or really quickly, but it took a lot of work to get to that. And it wasn't just pulled it out the air. And so I think that, and also an underrated characteristic or skill that we have is that we are educators. I feel like we are constantly having to explain and educate, whether it's things like resolution, why I can't use this photo that is only 20 kilobytes in this. We're going to talk about print in this case. I know for digital, maybe that might actually work in the digital realm. But for a print piece, a 20 kilobyte image that needs to be 8.5 by 11 in size, it's not going to print well. It's more than likely when I open it and check it, it's probably going to be screen resolution, all of that. So I think being educators on top of the whole that we're magicians at the same time.
I think also what I would say is as a designer's underrated skill, kind of going along with the magician theme, is that you have the ability through your work, through your wizardry to
I like that.
to evoke the emotion that the client wants. And the response that of the intended piece. And you have that ability to transcend all the feedback and everything and create something beautiful that is even probably more than what they even asked for in the first place. I know designers love to go and beyond, like above and beyond, to reel them back in a little bit. But is that your ability to really bring out emotions in, whether it's the consumer or, you know, the business to business is a little not like the most like sexy thing. But
are you sure? I kind of think it's really sexy. I don't know.
That'd be too though.
Industry. We'll say it depends on the industry.
I'm really just kidding right now.
But yeah, that ability to really connect with the targeted audience and to get that emotion. So it's all combined in your wizardry of pulling things out of thin air, but also in that, because designers are so quick too in what they do. It's insane that you guys can do things in the time in the time frame that you do, is just pull it all together. And I think it's because of that dreamer aspect, and that you're able to have that empathy and connection through something that you may not even be interested in.
Right.
So that's my take. That's my take with working.
Oh, sorry, say that again, please.
Oh no, I was just saying that's my take from working with it's so humbling to see what every single one of you is able to come up with in a short time frame and be able to be awesome all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that people think that it takes a very short time. I've had like moments where I can't think of how to get a project done, and I'll like wake up out of my bed like, oh, that's it. You know, and it will just be like that aha moment, and it's like you're trying to sleep, but your like brain is still kind of trying to figure out how to make something work, and you just jump out of your sleep, and then you have to get up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and start like getting that done on your computer, because you just need to get it done, or you'll like go back to your dream and then forget it. And then the next day it's kind of like, oh, here is this beautiful thing that I've created, and it's just like, oh, how did you do that so quickly? Yeah, because I didn't sleep. Because I just woke up out of my bed. So that happens to me sometimes. I'm just gonna be honest. So
it happens to me. I've been in the bathtub and hadn't been like, I gotta get out. I've got to hold on to this spot because I have the shower now and get out of the bathtub, get out of the shower, run to my desk and try to sketch it real quick.
Right. Yeah, that's me. I've been out before and had to like pick up my phone and like draw something like really quickly, and then try to like make sure that I know what it means when I get home.
Yes.
It's a different version of a dream journal.
Yeah, exactly. Completely different.
Yes.
Well, I know that you mentioned that you're looking to go more into the UX realm and kind of understand code a little bit more for developing your own app. Is that where you see yourself heading in the next 5 years? Yeah,
definitely. I would really want to get more into that realm, and then just kind of like print will be like in the dust. I'll be like running.
It's gonna follow you. Watch.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I really don't hate print that much, but
no, yes, you do.
It's okay.
I am.
And it's okay.
No, I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't appreciate it as much as I probably could. I appreciate it for what it is, but I don't have as much appreciation as, you know, other designers do. And I mean, I know that that's fine as well. So it's not like I feel bad for it or anything like that, but I do definitely want to get more into UX UI and experiential design. Like I do like, I like the idea of telling stories in general. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I really like the digital world and app design. I know that's a lot, but that would be where I would want to head in 5 years. That would be where I want to see myself. So
you want to be available to kind of be that one-stop shop in a way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. And I mean, I know I've even talked to Colleen about this, because I've told her before that I do definitely want to build an app. I have like, you know, ideas and stuff like that on apps and stuff. So that's definitely where I would want to head. So
that's really cool, because I mean, even just from the transition from web to then making everything mobile optimized, you know, is definitely, you know, you have to switch and you have to make sure design is right, you know, format and navigation bar and everything. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that type of structure versus the print structure. So even though like, just want to make sure that I say that out there, because I know that that's like someone's structured, but I'm okay with that. So I do like that realm, and like I said too, I actually did a computer science course when I was doing my psychology major too. Don't ask me anything because I forgot everything, but but I do want to explore that a little bit more too, because I would really like to be able to code everything. I think it would just be an amazing feeling to kind of go, you know, open an app and be like, I did this, like all of it, you know.
Or even just look at the view page, just click, you know, do the right click, view page source, and be like, and actually
yeah, like I did that, like, and yeah, and then yeah, exactly. So, and you know, I watched this TED Talk once with this 9-year-old boy who he created like his whole app and coded it and everything, and it pissed me off. Like it really did. I was just like, you're irritating me right now. And I had to, like, I watched it, but I was irritated. I was like, why? Why don't I have my own app? And this dude like built his, and he's 9. So
kids are born now with like a phone coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have 2 little girls, and the amount that they know how to do on a phone at their age, at five and a half and 2.5, I'm like, I was like maybe playing Tetris on Game Boy, but
right. Yeah, exactly. In fact, like I don't remember even using a cell phone for a long time, even probably like after high school or something like that. We just didn't focus on them that much. But I do remember, like, I was talking to my sisters the other day, and I was like, do you guys remember Gigapets? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
yes.
That was our cell phone. Like, that was the level that we were at with that. And then cell phones came later. It was like, this is what you play with. Now kids like play every single game on their cell phones, and it's amazing. And I'm like, what happened to Gigapets? Like, why didn't you be playing with those?
My Tamagotchi. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh man. But with that development in your career, moving into UX and coding and kind of that whole digital experience, like how do you what do you do for furthering your education? I know you mentioned some TED Talks, but like are there specific workshops or organizations or publications that you follow to start kind of moving in that direction, or just keeping your design skills updated?
Yeah, so you know, I actually like to do little courses, of course, free ones.
I was waiting for that part.
Yeah, so I like to take advantage of free courses, and so I'll literally just like surf the net and find. I like using udemy.com, but I also just use I think there was another one, Code Free Academy, I believe, where I was just kind of like doing a refresher in coding and stuff like that. So I like to do a lot of free courses. And then I will also, like, from time to time, look at YouTube videos, because I mean, you can learn so much. Like everyone posts everything now. It's you know, it's really interesting because you can learn so much about everything, and you know, just looking at a YouTube video. So that's really what I do. I like to kind of tap into a little bit of everything. And like I say, I want to get more into coding. So coding has been like my thing that I've been like telling myself I need to focus more on. And yeah.
Awesome. Have you ever, it used to be called lynda.com, but was lynda.com, did you ever utilize lynda.com?
Oh yeah. I used to use Lynda quite a bit, especially when I was at SCAD, because all students have
access.
Yeah. So I used to use Lynda quite a bit. And I think even now they might have some free ones from time to time, because I remember hearing my friends say that
Learning. LinkedIn bought it. Right. So now it's LinkedIn Learning, and it's rolled into LinkedIn Learning, and LinkedIn Learning is doing similar to how lynda.com was doing, like with schools and stuff.
Yeah.
School, I was looking at, the students had access to LinkedIn Learning, which meant I had access to it.
Yeah.
Watching some stuff myself. And now that I'm not at the school closed. So now that I'm not at the school anymore, I've actually been thinking about, okay, well, maybe I'll go ahead and get a LinkedIn Learning account for myself, just to do some tutorials and stuff. Because I used to, when it was lynda.com, you could get a free account if you had a library card.
Oh, really?
So I had a free account, and I was brushing up on stuff, learning, like how you said you like to play in some of the different software programs. I will do that. I'll, like how you said you use Premiere Pro sometimes. I'll go watch a couple tutorials and then get in there and around. And it's a good way to increase your skill set,
Yeah.
you know, keep up with what you're doing. And like you said, YouTube videos really go a long way.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, you can really learn a lot, even just to refresh. I've done something recently. I was just wanting to kind of refresh my compositing skills in Photoshop. So I just typed into YouTube, like composites, Photoshop composites, bunch of videos, and I watched several that I learned some really great tips that I didn't know. Just from doing that. So YouTube can be great.
They can speed up your process. Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. But shame on you for not telling me about the Linda.
I'm pretty sure I probably told you about it, because
the library card. No, I don't think
I told you about it.
Shame on you. No, you probably did.
Because this would have been like a couple years ago. So I'm pretty sure I told you, because I was telling everybody.
You probably did. Shame on me.
I even told my mom.
Did she ever use it?
She didn't do it, but I told literally everybody I could think of. Oh, have you heard of lynda.com? Hey, if you have a library card, you can get a free account. I told my mom, and she's like, what can I do with lynda.com? But she didn't get one, because she didn't really see the value in it.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
As for both of you, as designers, do you feel that you are obligated, I guess is the term, obligated to always be in the know about the trends, or what, you know, the PMS color of the year is, or do you feel like that clients
yellow?
Sorry?
It's illuminating, which is a yellow, and ultimate gray. 21.
Do you feel like clients with that kind of innate obligation, like, do you feel like clients actually on the norm or average really care about trends, or is that something that just you as a designer and the skills and the kind of the territory of being a designer that obligation comes from?
For me,
go ahead. No, go for it.
Well, okay. Well, I was going to say, for me, I do find that some clients do care. And some clients, and the way I know that they care is because they'll ask. So they may ask me, like, is this doing, like, maybe we're doing something and they're wanting to make an edit. And these are the great clients, the ones that make an edit and it's gonna.
You don't have to educate.
Yeah. Or I do have to educate, but okay, so there's kind of like this joke about, you'll make a design and you'll think it looks really great, and then you present it to the client, and then when they give their feedback and edits, that makes it look ugly, because the edit makes it ugly. You don't want to put it in your portfolio.
Right. So, you put the one in your portfolio that you did before the changes.
Yeah, before the changes. So with that said, you can have some clients that you've presented it to them and they have some edits, like they want to see this over here, or move this there, or change this, change the color. But then they may kind of stop for a second and say, well, actually, with that, is that on trend? The way you did it, is that kind of how things look to me, or is that the norm, or is it typical for something to be that way? Maybe I don't want to change that if that's typical for it to look that way. So they may ask me if it's a trend for things to be this way, like a stylistically, is this something that, should I keep it this way? Or would it be bad for me to change that? I want to change it, but is that bad to change it? So I find some clients do care about trends. And in those cases, for things like that, when a client is asking about that, or sometimes the client will ask me, what is the trend? Or they're asking me specifically about something because they're asking me because they feel I'm an expert. And so there's that pressure that I've got to be up to date and on it with my stuff and know what I'm talking about, because somebody may actually ask for my opinion. And I find that they really do want it. When they ask, they're really, really wanting the opinion and the guidance from your expertise. So I do definitely feel pressure to stay up to date and current. And that's part of it, because I'll have questions, and there have been plenty of times, even last week, I had a client ask some questions, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm so glad that that I've been keeping up with that, and that I knew that," because I was like, "Ooh, that could have been bad if I didn't know those answers."
That's hilarious.
And they were a new client. So if I hadn't known those answers, like
right.
you know, if it was a client that, you know, I've been working with for years or something like that, I wouldn't have felt maybe as bad. Like I may have felt like they may forgive me, but a new client impressed them. So I need to know my stuff.
Yeah, they'll just be like, let me walk slowly in the other direction.
Yeah. Close, slowly close.
Yeah, slowly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hilarious.
What about you, Vanessa?
Well, yeah, actually, I definitely agree with you. And then I mean, to kind of piggyback off of that, they're just the clients that want to be relevant. So they want to make sure that whatever they have is visually appealing for whatever is going on right now. So they want to make sure that, you know, they might be older and they want to make sure like it doesn't look like a website from the 80s. They want to make sure that like everything that's being done now is what people are attracted to right now. So yeah, I think it really is important to kind of stay up to date to make sure that you're able to provide them that. So
no, great, thank you. And what advice do you have for new designers entering the industry? Whether it is, you know, more geared towards graphic design or advertising design, kind of the design industry as a whole.
She'd tell them to stay away from print.
No, I was going to tell them to run from digital. So leave it all for me, and you just print. I would say my advice would really be just, you know, just focus on the things that you like and you know, keep it original, because I think that's one of the important things that a lot of designers forget. A lot of designers try to copy other designers, and you know, one of the things that's important, I think, in design and what clients always look for is they look for something original. They want something that stands out, because that's what they're paying you for. They're paying you to kind of like think something up and like, you know, bring something new to life, not necessarily something that looks like something else. So so I think, I guess my thing would be just do what comes naturally to you, and try to stay with what you like, and obviously what would work and what's functional, but just don't be a copy of someone else.
Great, thank you. Before we wrap up, Colleen, do you have any final thoughts or any final questions for Vanessa?
No, you kind of caught me off guard there with this question. No questions prepared. But no, I don't have anything additional. I've really enjoyed this talk. So I would like to thank you, Vanessa, for coming on and agreeing to be interviewed and allowing us to do this. I think you gave some great information, honestly, for like, if I was a new designer or just someone interested in maybe design in general, I think, or maybe I'm being a narcissist for thinking, but I think that this interview would be good to watch, because it would kind of give me some insight that there are some slightly different areas and avenues to go into with design. You know, you think of graphic design, and then now to learn, oh, there's advertising design. Even things like little nuggets, like you can get a master's in design. You've mentioned that with you getting your master's. So I think there's some good things that have kind of come from this interview, and things that you've talked about and mentioned and said. We know you hate print and love digital.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's cool though. We've got to also learn that there's a whole nother world and aspect. When you think traditional graphic design, one might think print, but to learn that there's more to design. Like I tend to just, a lot of times I don't call myself a graphic designer, I just say I'm a designer.
Same here, yeah.
So to know in the world and avenue of design, there are all these different kind of niches that you can kind of go in. Like I know some people that all they do is brand. They do logos. And that's something that I got burnt out on at
really?
time. Yeah, there was just a time period where I seemed like all I was doing was logos.
Oh, wow.
Out because I had done a million logos. So I had to take a break from doing logos, and I didn't do logos for like a good 6 months. And then I started accepting logo projects again. Yeah, I think this has been a really good talk and conversation, and I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us and doing this. So that's all I've got. Back to you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you guys too.
No, thank you very much again for coming on and being our inductee to a new format for us on the blog. It's been wonderful to have a real conversation just from different designers in the different aspects and avenues that really make them tick, and where inspiration comes and education, because when we graduate college, we all think that we're done, and then you get into working, and then you realize that there's always more, and there's always more education and more resources available. So definitely having you and Colleen as wonderful resources in the design world. I think definitely any new designer watching this will feel very confident in moving forward in their career path.